I love when I'm directing to create an environment where people are free to make an idiot of themselves and to risk as much as they can in the effort to grow. So risking and failing is way better in rehearsal than risking and succeeding.
So how you guys doing?
Good. How are you, Tony?
I'm doing really well. I don't think, when's the last time you guys were in the same room together? I haven't seen you guys in person in forever.
Well, we saw each other, actually we saw each other at the Moonlight this week and then out at my house outside just this past week. But before that, it's just every now and then running into each other. I think the last time I saw you, Tony, was at Kroger's, yeah.
The last 3 times I saw you was at Kroger.
Right.
So I have this thing where I want to explore how Barter Theatre has been able to sustain such an aggressive pace as far as the product Barter puts out, and yet still maintain the high quality art and the high production values month after month, year after year. And that's what we're exploring. So for example, I have some stats for you.
Ooh,
as comparison to some other Tony Award regional theaters, so there's some kind of equanimity. As you know, Barter Theatre won the first Tony Award back in 1947, 8, 19.
I was there.
You were there? Excellent. I was probably there. And so anyway, so in 2018-2019 season, the Alley Theater produced 10 shows. Goodman Theater produced 9 shows. Arena Stage produced 9 shows. Utah Shakespeare Festival, 10 shows. Barter Theatre, 22. All right. 2017, I'll just do this second year. 2017-2018 season. Alley 10, Goodman 13, Arena Stage 10, Utah Shakespeare Festival 8, Barter Theatre 23. Now, the further back we go, we'll see the same stats. And
well, there was that one year. Do you remember, Nick, that year when Rick tried to outdo every year we'd had? I don't remember what year it was, but we had the tent and we had we had so many shows, it was ridiculous.
Right.
We did 30 something. It was crazy. I don't remember what year that was, but we did 30 something shows. Yeah.
That tent, was that Keep on the Sunny Side?
That was it. Yep.
And that was that was the season production, not the AFPP production, right?
Right.
Right.
So, I contend that part of the reason why you guys are able to do all this work is because of your longevity and because of your mindset. Barter's one of the last theater companies in America to hang on to an acting company. What does being part of the company mean to you?
Well, I think Tony, that's how we're able to do this amount of work and kind of and keep it at a level of quality that most of the time we're very proud of. It all stems from being a group of resident artists that work at the theater. So you have, and particularly in the years that you were talking about, you have a group of 12 to 15 actors who live and work year round at the theater, and then and you also have resident artists as well, the scene designers, lighting designers. Anyway, because we run in repertory, it's necessary. It's this weird thing where it's the way that we like to work, and it's also the economics of how it can work. And we could talk about that a little bit too. But anyway, that's what I think. I'll let Tricia and Kim.
Well, I also think it's because we were very smart you don't just hire a leading man and a leading lady and a chorus dancer and a chorus singer. We hire people that can do all of it. And therefore you're challenged each time. Sometimes you're going to be a lead in a show, and then other times you're going to be in the chorus, and sometimes you're going to play a small role, and sometimes you're going to play a big lead in a big dramatic show. And you're never stuck in one specific kind of role. We challenge each other to try something that's new and different, that is outside our box, and that keeps you inspired, I think.
I think oh, sorry, Kim. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to just piggyback on that. That's another very important part of the mindset of how people are able to keep going at this pace, is that it's very much a culture of growth where you're expected to grow, and that's really the only way that an artist remains happy doing that. Otherwise, it's just it would be very easy for it to be starting to punch the card at the factory 8 times a week. Sorry.
Yeah, I think I agree with all of everything that's been said already. But I also think, as someone who has been in a company and then sort of an actor at large, where you're just auditioning and going from place to place, a couple of things about being in the company here. A, you're able to kind of because you work with a company of people, you have trust on day one. So you're able to like reach that output because you don't have to build and get to know everyone and think, oh, how is it going to be working with this group of people? We have that already. And then I think, when you're doing a 6-week contract at a theater in like Oklahoma or Rhode Island or wherever you are away from home, you're always, that there's an end date in 6 weeks. And so the energy that you're putting, certainly most of your energy into a show, but you also, there's like this undercurrent of, okay, what's the next job? I've got to be auditioning. I've got to be thinking about the next thing. And there's something, I think, really to be said about the job security of being in a resident company, that you can throw all of your focus on the art you're making now because you know that your bills are paid.
So you have security across a season. By the way, for people who are listening who don't know, acting company is a group of actors that are hired by a theater to play different parts over a certain period of time, like a year or 2 years. In Barter's case, from what I understand, I don't know if you're allowed to talk about contracts, but your contracts are automatically renewed unless one or the other party decides, it's time to move on.
They're done on a yearly contract, and then at the end of each year, it's renewed or not. But they are yearly contracts, and most of our company has been here for at least several years.
At least several years,
and many for 10 or more.
Kim, how long have you? What was your first show? Bright Star.
Bright Star, yeah. So I've been here since 2018, and I think I'm like the newest.
Yeah. Probably
member of the equity company.
You are.
Yeah.
I've been here since 2015, and I still feel like a newbie. I mean, I'm not kidding. Well, okay, maybe I'm just starting to go into the next phase. Tricia, how long have you been working here?
2005. It was my first one.
Yeah. And Nick, what about you? I saved you for last.
I first came here when I was an intern in college in 1990, and then came back when Rick took over the theater in 1993. The intern company turned into a year-round touring company, so I did that for 3 years. Then went to New York. Then came back. I've been back since 2002, consecutively. But I was here very, very early on in my career. I was lucky. I was actually very lucky to run into the people I did at a young age. Otherwise, I don't know what I'd be doing now.
Really, Derek Smith said the exact same thing.
Yeah,
the exact same thing. He's lucky to have done an internship with Barter. But you left for a while. Tricia, you took a sabbatical too, right?
Not for a long period of time. I've gone in and out to, I did a semester teaching in Illinois, and I've taken breaks. Like I took a break to go to Italy, because sometimes you have to just take a break. So I have taken,
I took a break this year.
Yeah.
I took a break for, I guess 12, 16 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was in my contract.
I'm still on my break. Yeah.
We could all use a respite from this break.
Right.
Exactly.
The reason I asked
Yeah.
you about going away and coming back, because a lot of people have gone away for a little bit and then come back. I think Helen did it. Again, Derek Smith has done it. Even Andrew did it for a little bit. And when you see that trend with people, to me, that's very interesting, because if it's one person, then it could be something different. But if it's a lot of people, then what's compelling is the reason you came back. Now, Tricia, you didn't actually leave and come back. What you just
Right.
said was you took some breaks.
Right. I just took breaks. I didn't ever leave permanently. I just took, like a rep off or something to look at some other things, or to like I say, to take a little break, because I think that's important sometimes. But no, I did not leave. Those people you mentioned actually went away, and like what Nick was just saying, he went to New York. So, and which I think is important. I think it's very important to go and pursue the rest of your career, or to look at what your life might be like in other places, and then you can make a decision about whether you want to stay and do this or not. So I'd recommend that for anybody, anywhere, in any job. So
And
that's
your
me.
decision was to stay.
Mhm.
What went
Yeah.
into that decision? Do you mind if I ask?
Well, I think that I came to Barter a little older, and I had already done a lot of the auditioning and the career and the show to show and moving around all over the place. And so for me, landing here and having the opportunity to actually buy a house, which I never thought I would do, and have kind of a life, was very interesting to me. It's always been an adjustment, because I love the traveling around, and I love the going to new theaters and meeting new people. I love that part of the business. And I think that's why I needed to take little breaks here and there, because I just love not being, I don't want to be in a what begins to feel like a 9-to-5, kind of thing. But I also enjoy having the regular paycheck that's coming in, and feeling like, oh, I know where I'm going and what's happening, and I know these people, and I know. So it has its pluses and minuses for me personally.
You have a life here,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is the point. Nick, why did you come back? Do you mind if I ask?
No. It was, I had been here for a while, and I was still young.
Mortgage and yeah.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. Did you?
That's okay.
Yeah.
I'll
So
edit
yeah.
it
So
out.
I went to go to New York, and I had been here for like 5 years, and had been a part of this company that we had started up, which was then called Barter's First Light Theater, and now it's called the Barter Players. And we did these tours to young audiences, and I learned a ton. And then in the summers, I would take roles on, in one of the two theaters, but I learned a ton in that time. And I was just ready to go try something else for a while, and when I went to New York, for a year, and just kind of got my feet wet, and then I got called back here to do they were starting Rick was going to start the resident company, so I came back for part of a season, and then went back to New York for 4 or 5 years. And over that time, I got to work with a bunch of different people, and live in a bunch of different apartments, and experience that lifestyle, which was great fun. And but what I eventually learned over time was that I got a call in 2002 to come be a part of the show Keep on the Sunny Side, which was being developed at that time about the Carter family, and so I was excited to come and do that. But ultimately, what I found is that I love the way that this company and community works, and I missed it compared to what my other work had been in the city and getting jobs other places from the city. I did miss this sense of community here, and yeah, and I was just ready. I was just ready to come back and get back into this kind of lifestyle here, which I love.
And which Kim touched upon when she said one of the advantages of an acting company is, you know who you're working with, and you develop a rapport, and you don't have to worry about learning how to fit in all over again. I think is a good paraphrase for what you said. But it's more than that, isn't it? And what you said about getting back to this sense of community, it's a little more than that. There's I harp on this idea of the mystique of an artist. People don this mystique, and I think it gets in their way of really being authentic with their work, as compared to the acting company and the artisans and the artists at Barter, where their mindset is more, an idea is a good idea no matter where it comes from.
Well, and anybody who's busy here trying to create a mystique does not last long, because right. It's just, there's no time. And, there's kind of like, there's already like, it's just, this is another thing that I love about working here, is that it's just all about the work, and that we work in service to an audience. So that's what is at the foundation. That is its own weeding out process for people who come, and they might come for a summer, or they might not, but there's nothing here that's you're not going to get a write-up in a review that somebody's going to see and then put you in a movie and then or you're not going to get an agent out. It's not that, which is very much what New York is. My experience in New York was very much about like doing shows and then people trying to, how are we going to get an agent in here? How are we going to get casting directors? How are we going to get people to come see this when there's 200 shows going up every night in the city? And in the meantime, oops, we forgot to rehearse the play. So if anybody did come and see it, what did they see? Anyway, so I've had that experience a couple of times, but I think that's one of the things here is it's just very much about the work. And if you don't like that, you just leave quickly, because it's just too hard. I mean, it's not worth it. If your goal is something else, it's 6 days a week, all day long, and you get Monday off. And really what you're doing that day is doing all the stuff you couldn't get done during the week and trying to rest before rehearsal on Tuesday. So it's a lifestyle that's very grueling. But when you're doing what you love, it's also extremely rewarding.
Grueling, and yet the proof is in the pudding. The shows are good. I mean, one of the things that annoyed me I worked in New York a number of times, and I always saw this paradigm of a pecking order. And and it doesn't matter whether you worked at the same theater or not. Can you help me get ahead? Oh, you can't? Then I'm going to go talk to this other person, And there wasn't a sense of friendship, and there's a sense of camaraderie here, right? And support. And I have this quote from Rick Rose. I've heard him say, "You don't have to prove anything because you already have the job." Have you ever heard him say that? Right? How does that support your process? How does that affect your process?
Well, I think that, going on that whole idea that we're being challenged. I mean, I've played roles at the Barter that I never would have been cast in if I was out there in the real world, because they wouldn't have been able to open up that box and look there. Not that I wasn't capable of doing them. It's just that out in the real world, they're looking for certain things. And sometimes you're lucky and get cast out there, but other times
Tricia and I did that in the same show when I played Dracula and she played Van Helsing.
Oh. Exactly.
Those were, we'd never get cast in anywhere.
Never get cast in the real world. And so the idea that your company of actors are all doing that, we're all doing things that we wouldn't think of that we would ever do. So supporting each other to say, hey, you can do this, is one of the things that's great here, is watching somebody succeed at something that they aren't used to, and being uncomfortable and scared and afraid, and you go, okay, come on, we can do this thing, we can do this. And yeah, I think that's part of what's great about this company, is helping each other. So yeah, you already got the job and you're not trying to prove it, so you can go out there and make huge mistakes, and you know you're good enough that you won't completely make an idiot of yourself or ruin the show. I don't think anybody would let you make an idiot of yourself.
Well, I've made an idiot of myself plenty of times.
That's part of, also, I think that's part of the one of the other things I love about working here is that oftentimes, like I love when I'm directing, to create an environment where people are free to make an idiot of themselves and to risk as much as they can in the effort to grow. So risking and failing is way better in rehearsal than risking and succeeding. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I think that's part of it.
Right. And when you're you've just been hired out of New York or LA or something, and nobody really knows you, and you're up with a bunch of people that don't know you, and now you've got 2 weeks of rehearsal to get it learned, get it done, and then get it up in front of performance. All you care about is the performance and getting it right. And it's rare to be out there in that world and be given permission to experiment and play and go as far as you can go. And when those things happen, it's terrific, but it's not always a truth in the business. So although we may only have the same amount of hours, it's just extended over a longer period of time to rehearse a play. And I think that when you have a couple of days in between rehearsals, sometimes your brain can go, oh, what if I tried this when I came in? And oh, what about that? And you can play over time. Does that make sense? Yeah.
So, yeah, yes. That makes complete sense.
As an example, I think, part of the thing, Kim said this earlier about everybody knows each other already. So there's no time wasted feeling each other out, everything. Everybody works together in different capacities too. Tricia directs sometimes, I direct sometimes, we do different things. So you're always kind of on one side of the ball or the other. But just as an example, like why I think it's most valuable is we did a show a couple of years ago called Over the River and Through the Woods, which is about a family. If I was directing that show, and if I had been directing,
love that show, by the way.
Yeah, it's a beautiful show. And if I had been directing that somewhere else and 7 actors had come in to do it, I would spend the 2 weeks of that rehearsal process doing my best to make sure that this group is like a family, right? Because that's more important than anything.
Because the show is about a family on the road.
Here, I spent 0 time trying to make sure they were a family, because they already are. So we got to rehearse the play and find all this other great stuff in it. And so the result was that, I thought it was just a much richer piece because we're already a family there. I know a lot of places say we're a family, but really, I'm actually, when we're working, I'm around these people more than my actual family. Yeah.
Well, yes, you don't refer. I've said this on every podcast so far. We don't refer to ourselves as Barter employees unless we're at a budget meeting or a company meeting or something. We say Barter people, Barter family, Barter whatever. And there's even a Facebook page, Barter Family Facebook page, that's very active. And the senior staff didn't put that Facebook page together. Somebody at Barter put it together, and everybody participates in it. But I want to point out what you said. You didn't have to take the time to congeal these people to relate in a way that's a family. They were comfortable with each other already. So this acting company and the longevity provides you with a built-in shorthand. You know each other, right? But there's more than that, because I contend that it's the mindset. A growth mindset is a mindset that says, it's about your beliefs of what's possible in the world, and what you yourself are capable of. So it's a belief that if you put in the time to learn anything and really learn it and experiment and don't be afraid to fail and learn from your failures and such, you will be rewarded with new skills, new knowledge, and like that. Fixed mindset is, well, we won't get into that because I would say that the fact that you think failure in rehearsal is a good thing demonstrates a growth mindset that everybody shares. So why is failure in rehearsal a good thing?
It's for a number of things. First of all, that's where there's growth. But the other thing, for other people in the room to see somebody risking and failing, that is contagious, and that helps other people take that step as well. I mean, each of us at some time or another, oftentimes, is in a role where, like for me, it's like if we're doing a musical and I'm having to play a larger role and I have to sing, and the first time I have to sing in front of the company, like I'm about to die. I can't get my breath. So you have to be willing to just like throw it out there, and and then when somebody sees that, like, oh my God, Nick just butchered that song. The next person then is like, oh, and look, and he's still standing, and it's fine, and he'll get better, and all that. But other people seeing that creates an environment where you want to be creative. And I think that's important, not just for the actors in the room, but for everybody in the room, for stage management, for production interns, for anybody who's coming in, that this is what it's going to be. In fact, a lot of times when we're doing a new play and there's like a new playwright in the room, after the read-through, I say, you're of course you're welcome at every rehearsal, but I'll just tell you, you're going to be pulling your hair out for the first week or so in here, because it's all going to be about failing. And you're going to be sitting there as a playwright going, why is this hard? It's right in the script. I don't know why these people can't get this. And you're going to want to give answers and all that stuff. But this is a necessary part of the process in order to get the best show. Yeah. That's what I think.
Awesome. So Kim.
Yeah.
3 years in.
At me.
Yes. Because you came from a different kind of an acting company, right? You came from the Greenbrier?
Yeah, I was an administrator and artist there. I was the associate artistic director and acted and directed from time to time. But we didn't have like a resident company in the sense that Barter does. We had, a group of regulars that we would hire in, but mostly people from New York or Chicago that had just been there a lot and were audience favorites. And then it was by comparison, much smaller than Barter in terms of production, like how many, productions a year, and staff. So we were sort of, utility players on the bench.
And then you were hired at Barter for Bright Star, which is a kind of a smaller role. Your role was kind of a smaller role, but what was your next role? Was it singing?
It's hard to say next because like 4 things are happening at once. But we rehearsed Bright Star, and I just saw Maggie Piper in the corner. We rehearsed. Hi, Mags. We rehearsed Bright Star and opened that, and then we were rehearsing Richard III and Steel Magnolias and Sister Act all at the same time. So it was great for me as like the new company member to come into a show, like, as you say, I mean, I truly never felt like there was no like, oh, I have a small role, so I can kind of take it easy. I mean, in so many ways, it was a blessing that it was this ensemble piece. We were all on stage the whole time, and it felt so equitable across everyone that was there. And that show, everything that Nick was saying, like we were so encouraged to experiment and like build it from the ground up. And we were like playing theater games in rehearsal. That's how we did a group warm up at the start of every rehearsal. Right? Yeah. And it was, and that was the idea of the show, was it a story circle? And so then we had to become that. So it was, I could not have created a better entrance into this company, I think, than that show, working with most of the company at that time. And then to go right from that to be rehearsing Richard 3, which was, I think there was it 7 of us? 6 or 7 of us doing all of, so you were, again, this great ensemble piece, and that it felt, we all had, your big scene here and there, but that then it was about being the group of players together. And I mean, honestly, same thing with like Steel Magnolias and Sister Act too. Like Steel Magnolias is you're all out there together doing hair for 2 hours. And so everyone has, everyone has their hard things in the show, or the big thing that you're like, oh God, I've got to get to that moment, but that you're all out there together. And I think like for those to be the first things that I had coming in was such a gift in so many ways.
Didn't you do Singing in the Rain that summer? Was that the
I did later that summer? Yeah. And thank God that I had all of that on the front end.
Because you guys were dancing
just talk about it, would have booked anywhere else, and being like the whole time like worrying about this up to, and still my nose going, oh, I've got to make people think I can tap dance later.
You killed it.
You did kill it. In a good way. I would have called you a triple threat. I almost called you a triple threat. That's how convinced I was about your tap dance.
Kim's
That's
the
very
definition
fun.
of that.
Kim, what?
Kim is the definition of a triple threat.
If by that you mean that I'm threatening, yes.
Acting, singing, and dancing. For those who don't know what a triple threat is.
I'm threatening people.
Yeah.